a revolutionary old idea, hosted by Mark Gardner and Steve Steich.
Hi, my name is Mark Gardner. My partner over there is Steve Steich. And together, we are hosting a podcast we call Revolutionary Old Idea. And the purpose of Revolutionary Old Idea is to make sure that we don't throw out the best of all the old ideas as we rapidly absorb and adopt all kinds of new ideas. So what you're going to find here is less artificial intelligence, probably, and more natural intelligence. And
I like that.
Well, that's what we've got. Our guest today is Jason Wilson, who's a celebrity in his world, and you may feel that he's a celebrity in your world too if you watched the Discovery Channel's Sacred Steel television show. Jason is a renowned builder of motorcycle choppers. So, Jason, tell us, you're in your what? Your atelier, your warehouse, your workshop. Where are you right now?
I'm in the workshop. Well, it's actually my garage now. But yeah, this is a full-fledged metal shop in the middle of a nice neighborhood in San Gabriel. I'm sure my neighbors all love it.
Do they especially love it when your friends arrive on their choppers?
Yeah, and then we fire up the power hammer and the grinders going all night, and
for a little extra fun.
Yeah, well, the cops haven't come yet, so I guess I got some.
Good.
Well, we'll try to ensure they don't come tonight.
Yeah.
Jason, do you remember either at what age you were as a kid or whatever when you must have in some ways kind of fallen in love with motorcycles? You're a bike guy, so when did that happen?
Well, like I said, it all kind of ties together. I remember like being a kid with the Big Daddy Roth model kits and taking a cigarette lighter and the little Bondo tubes they had, and I was already modifying the kits, and from then nothing was really good enough stock, and I got my first custom car probably like 15. I got a 49 Merc, and I tried to chop the top myself, and I didn't know how to weld I did it with a stick welder and tech screws. So needless to say,
nice.
It ended up a convertible. But like I said, in my early teenage years, I was obsessed with George Barris and Dick Jeffries and Joe Balin and all the old lead sled builders, and just the whole idea of auto restyling, and it was through that I kind of learned about choppers. And then right now I'm kind of going back the opposite way. Me and Tom were doing a new show, and we're customizing a 1949 Ford and going through these George Barris books, doing every modification. This is kind of like before YouTube, and you wanted to figure out how to do something, you'd actually have to look in a book. And most of them, like I said, it has like 3 pictures. It's like kind of start here, and then it shows everything in a wreck, and then it's the finished pictures. It leaves a lot to the imagination, but it's all we had back then.
So, Jason, let's explore the relationship between the world of hot rods and the world of choppers. How do they connect? When did they connect?
Well, I mean, for hot rods, it's always, I mean, like dudes coming back from World War II, they were just pulling everything off their bikes and cars and trying to make them faster. And the skills that they learned in the military, they were applying them to these street machines and trying to get every little horsepower after them. But I think the chopper is different. I mean, yes, they are designed to go fast, but it was more about style and being low and the long front end and all the molding and the custom fabrication. And that's what I'm kind of drawing the doing the history between that and the cars, like the molding, the Frenched headlights, the tail lights, all these things that made when you close your eyes and think about a 70s chopper, a traditional chopper, and the candy pane and like all the glitter and all that stuff. It could be traced back to car culture, and especially like the Watson bikes. I mean, he was a famous car painter, and his bikes are, it's like almost like I said, but it's weird. Now everyone is like, oh, you're either a bike guy or a car guy, not knowing that it's all kind of really interwoven, and it all, like I said, to me, it's like really like the most, like, it could only happen in America. Like, where else? Like with these custom cars, like this, the Hero Hata Merc. This dude went to the car dealership and drove it right out new into Barris's shop and said, "Hey guys, cut the fucking roof off it." Like, like where else? Like, could that kind of shit happen? But here, and same thing with choppers. It's like there's $1 million of engineering that goes into these front ends and the geometry to make it work, and then they go to their buddy's garage and be like, "Oh, let's cut the neck off and weld it this way, and make it handle like shit and not turn, and but at least it looks cool, So, like I said, it's a real, like, kind of an American thing, It's just that mindset of your individuality and style is more important than your safety or money or common sense.
Well, in looking at some materials that we got about you, I got the sense that sometimes the idea is to get to the design, the look of the bike, and not be so concerned about what we might call its rideability. Do I have that right?
Definitely on the show bikes. I mean, like I said, over the years, like, I've learned what, like, not to do and like what will break and what will fail. Every time I try a little harder, but like I haven't like found out the perfect geometry for the perfect riding chopper yet. And especially, like I said, like on the bikes, especially we did during the TV show, like they're meant to be bigger than life and memorable and have their own characters. So they have retarded long front ends and tiny front tires or huge sissy bars with a giant stainless cast hand. But in reality, you start going, that thing starts moving, it'll knock you out in the back of the head. Like I said, there's some showmanship of it, and like that's that's like what killed choppers in the late 70s. Like they had gone so wild, they were so extreme. And the same thing with the cars of that, where like you push it to the point where like you just fucking kill it, and then you wait, and then it comes back in style retro, and people are trying to emulate what they did back then, and even to the point of going to the point where they destroyed it. I mean, we'll do it again. Choppers right now are going to get so crazy and so long and so silly with adornments and stuff that it'll kill itself again, and the next trend will take over, and and then the cycle will start over again.
Okay, so Jason, could you just, for our audience people who may not be as familiar with the world of these things, how is a chopper different from any other kind of motorcycle?
Well, I mean, I don't feel like I have the authority to say that, but I give you my opinion on it.
Okay.
And like I said, the word chopper was like pretty much dead until Jesse James brought it back up. I mean, no one was talking about choppers, and that version of what Jesse James thinks is, or those bikes, is different than what I say is a chopper. But I at the very, very base, it's a motorcycle that's cut up. And like I said, and the same thing with going back to the cars of the custom cars. It's taking that step and destroying something. So like, not just putting on bolt-on shit or a paint job. It's that you take it to the point where it could be trash, and then that's where it becomes the art of the chopper. It's been chopped. It's a custom. It's only one like it in the world at that point. The parts you make for that bike will only fit on that bike. You can't interchange them or switch them around when it's a truly custom part on a custom frame.
When I look at your work, tell me if I'm wrong. What I see is kind of a generally a vibe that I would date from maybe from the 1970s, which I, like maybe it's part of my age, my particular age, and the cultural milieu in which I grew up. But I sort of think like, okay, well, maybe that was a heyday. But tell me from your perspective, like what makes a Jason Wilson chopper a Jason Wilson chopper? What would make an expert in your genre, in your field, look at a bike and realize it was yours?
Okay, I'll break this down in a couple different sections, and that'll let's start with, I mean, like every bike is different. They all have like different flows, but I guess little things that you could tie in, and like, when you look at a certain shop's bikes from the era, like you could say, oh, that's a Denver's chopper, or that's a blah blah blah. That's because their style is so like kind of on it. But you want to still, like, I still try to like be very very diverse. Like in the beginning, like I did this thing. It's called a double Siamese gooseneck wishbone. So like that's the down tube, and like on an old. So it would go like this, come in, and go like this, and then come out. And all my early bikes had that, and it was like kind of like a trademark. But we kind of like lost that during the show and all that because it's really time consuming. And those builds, we only got like 2 weeks to do. But I think for me, it's the flow. And like I said, it kind of goes back to like the early lead sled designing where like the gas tank and the frame, everything flows together. And usually in all these bikes, if you stand back and look at it, you could find the line that's defining everything that ties it together. And then also like what you could, the way you could tell any custom bike is you don't really look at the big parts. You start looking at the bracketry, the things that hold the mounts and stuff like that. When you start seeing little intricate handmade details, and that's what really makes a custom bike and a show bike. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not big things. It's a lot of little things that kind of come together. Mm-hmm. And like one of the best, God rest his soul, Arlen Ness, told me that one way you could always look and see that a handmade bike is you look at the fender, and if the fender is radiused and match the shape of the tire, that's really difficult to do. And that's one way that you could tell that someone put thought and effort into that just at a glance. Like you can't just buy a fender out of a box and it's going to match the radius of a tire.
Mm-hmm. Jason, in a video that I was watching of you, you talked a little bit about how you create sometimes more area on the bike for people to do paint and do work with paint. And let's go maybe into that a little bit and go on to the larger idea that maybe what you're doing is not so much putting together a pragmatic piece of transportation, but more a piece of art.
Yeah. Like I said, as a builder, you want to design in, like, design features, and we call it like making canvas, like places for paint and graphics and like body lines and brakes, things where the light's going to reflect. What do you got to say about that?
There's a murderer coming to kill you, Jason.
Yeah. And but as far as the art thing, like that was the thing. Like when we first started, like I don't like to think of it as being an artist. Like I said, it's still a mode of transportation. It's still just a bike. Like I said, when we take them out to the shows, we let people, like kids with their sticky fingers, crawl over them and take pictures and have fun. And we ride them and crash them, fix them again. Where place like Orange County Choppers, they put fucking velvet ropes around the bikes, and you got to look at it from 30 feet away.
Yeah,
they think their bikes are art. I don't. I think it's a well built, sturdy machine that could take a beating. I mean, it's fucking Harley Davidson,
right?
No,
but at this time in the way most of life is now, where everything kind of comes out of a bubble pack and so forth, this is handmade, Okay, I mean, you're at least at a high level of craft with these things.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a union sheet metal worker, and like I went to trade school for 5 years, and like every skill that they had taught me, like it was to making like shit that didn't interest me, and ductwork and construction and high rises. But the foundation of doing things right and the engineering aspect of it. So when I first started doing it, there wasn't. This is like kind of like, I guess, in the early part of this revival, there wasn't a lot of dudes out there doing it. Like I said, it was a bunch of dudes that were doing meth in their garages with stick welders and, just making gross creations. So I feel like taking that training and at that time, like really made me stand out. So that's like how I was able to start getting attention. And I like now, like I said, it's crazy. Like some of the tools, like I had to hunt down just to do this metal shaping. Like no one had used them since World War II. A lot of this stuff was obsolete. It was aircraft making, sheet metal shaping. Like no one really used that stuff anymore. Now, like I said, because of the popularity of Jesse James and this whole thing, like you could go to Harbor Freight and get the knockoff version for $200 and be shaping some metal in your backyard that night. So it's really grown, and skill level is amazing. This next generation kids are really pushing it.
What is your skill set, your skill tool set? You obviously fabricate metal, and you say you're doing that as a job of work during the day. But did you have to learn welding from somebody?
I mean, like I said, I'm Generation X. So like when I was 8 years old, I was messing around with an oxy fuel torch. Like we were just something, messing around with my dad's tools while he was at work, trying to weld shit. The success of the things I do is like I got like a really talented group of friends. So like I do the metal work. Got a homie that does the metal. The motor, the mechanical side. Like I'm a shit mechanic. I know just enough the basics to get everything where it needs to live, and then I fabricate around it. But like I don't tune the motors and all that stuff. And then we got our buddy Sweet Baby James, who's one of the greatest painters that could fix all our errors at the end. So like it's if you've seen the show, it's a team effort, And
then you have to have a I would think a big vocabulary, if I can use that word, of the parts and the things that are available in the world versus the stuff you're going to have to fabricate from zero? Or do you just always approach it as like, I may have to hand build all of this?
That's an interesting question, because like when that first biker build off series came around, like they wanted everything to be cool. Everything had to be built by hand. And then now with like the more like traditional chopper builds, they want to see more like swap meet finds and original Harley parts, and then other like the bracketry and that kind of stuff is fabricated to make it fit together. And like I said, different builders do different stuff. And like I said, the thing with choppers, you're really not like looking on like what's the new greatest and latest part. It's a lot of research in the old magazines and books, and like I said, what they did back then, because the traditional style never goes out of style, like these fat tire bikes and, and modern ghost flame paint jobs and all those trends, they come in and out of favor. But like the traditional bikes were cool, they are cool, and they're still going to be cool, So like I said, it's like, it's not like, I'm not saying I don't take a risk, but I mean, like I definitely know what I like. And like I said, I like that old junk, and like I said, it's not really a risk. Like I already know, like, a raked frame with a Mustang tank and an 18-inch rear wheel and a skinny Triumph fender is going to look cute, Like it's been done so many times, It's just you got to do it in a way that's unique to your shop or your group,
Maybe that's like a blues song, you know? Like there's what are there, Steve? Are there four chords that are used in blues music? You know, but
Sometimes
it's,
three, mostly three.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said,
but
I was saying something like that with like the car, like the French headlights, the French taillights, the chop top, the rounded corners. These are all like the modifications from the 50s, and it's kind of like different colors of paint on your palette, and you choose from these things that the old builders gave us, and you create a new masterpiece with picking and choosing and changing them around a little bit, you know.
nice.
But yeah, like a blues song, like I said, everything could be built on, you know, those same chords.
Yeah.
So, Jason, you were telling us, I think, that you have a regular day job as a union sheet metal guy. How long have you been doing that?
Since 1997, and I'm coming up in January 20 years with the County of Los Angeles.
Wow.
And I said
Okay,
that
and
is for all
so
stuff here, you know.
I bet we
And
all
it's
have.
hospital equipment.
Anything that's started being made from sheet metal, quarter inch and down. So like it's doors, duct work, a lot of stainless countertops, like anything that someone needs. Like we make it all from scratch there, you know. And like I said, it's a pretty cool job, you know. Like I said, keeping the hospital. I mean, like nothing could. We have every trade there. I mean, like, you know, if you think about it, like a hospital never closes, and we can't just be calling people to come fix things. So we're always there, always on hand, making sure that, you know, people get the care and the service they need. You know, I mean, this is our city. We try to take care of it.
You know, Jason, and I think I think I'm going to tell a little story for a second, but I think everyone has this person in their life. Everyone's got a friend who only ever says two kinds of things. Most of the time, what they say is stupid. But then there's that minority of there's that small percentage of the time that what they say is so profound. Okay, and so I have a friend that I think of a lot in this context, and one time he told me any craft elevated to a sufficient level becomes art. Respond.
Yes, I guess what's art is evoking people's feelings, right? So, I mean, it could be a picture of a piece of dog shit on a sidewalk if it's black and white and the shit's got a nice shadow on it. I mean, that by definition could be art, right? So, like I said, yeah, so I guess something that is primary use of transportation could be art because it does make people feel a certain way or remind them of something, especially like I said with us doing like all the old stuff, you know what I mean? Like you can't go to a gas station without some old guy. I remember when I used to have a pan head like this or a shovel head, and he'll tell you his stories.
Sure.
You know, and like I said, and then besides just and then there's the paint factor of it. I mean, that does colors and emotion and the graphics and the glitter and all that stuff. It brings out a feeling in you. You know what I mean? Like I don't think any bike is designed to make you feel sad, you know?
Right. And so pursuing that earlier, you sort of perhaps you know, just because you seem like a basically polite guy, kind of poo-pooed the idea that you're an artist. But one thing I'm curious about is, do you sell your bikes?
All the complete builds I still have. Like I said, we'd like taking them to the shows and letting people interact with them and have fun with them. People still enjoy seeing them. And like I said, I did get to spend some time with Arlen Ness when we did the TV show, and he went back and he bought every bike he ever sold once he made it. And so I figured like the complete builds I'll keep. I do sell like parts and doing modifications and this stuff. And like I said, a lot with our group of friends, the Douche LaRouche. We're always like kind of trading work. So like I said, most of it is that, it's not really customers. They're just my friends, and they're here, hanging out, and we're working on it together, designing it together.
Nice.
Like I said, that's my business,
All right. I think some people, I think some people might say, a guy that produces works of art but doesn't sell them, that might fall into the category of they might say, well, he's an outsider artist. That's what outsider artists do. It's like you always see these great stories about, some old guy dies and somebody goes out to the farm, and sure enough, in the barn, there's like 180 fantastic paintings on plywood. And people realize after the guy is gone, like, whoa, this guy was an incredible artist. And maybe you have a little bit of that. Maybe you're an artist, but an outsider artist.
For sure, I'm an outsider.
Touche, Jason. I would say, as a observer of the cultural milieu here, and a motorcyclist, albeit a different kind of motorcyclist, that most Americans don't care at all about motorcycles, but if there was a kind of motorcycle that produced a visceral reaction in the ordinary person, the kind would be a chopper. Why is that?
I think it's history, it's movies, it's it's the Wild Ones, it's the Hells Angels, it's the bad guys in movies are cool, and it is, like I said, it's something American, like it's purely American. You could find chopper dudes in every country now, but like it's something that could only have happened here in the land of abundance, like where you have so much that you could just destroy things, have fun with them, if you went somewhere else or another planet, and you're like, okay, I saved up, I go to work to buy this car, and then you're like, well, let's cut it in half. Let's take these parts from this car and put it on it. It doesn't make sense, It's people like just no. I want to get to work, and I want to, and I want it to be reliable and safe, and I want it to go right when I turn right, and we do the opposite.
Jason, you were mentioning some of those famous biker films and bike clubs. How true would it be for me to assume? How correct would I be if I assume that really chopper culture is fundamentally both about a kind of a self-actualizing, do-it-yourself kind of philosophy, but also with a streak of rebelliousness. Is rebelliousness built in?
I think it's always been there, always kind of like inserted by popular media, like these are the bad guys, But I think for like my generation, like we grew up on like punk rock and do-it-yourself kind of attitude, and with like the whole latchkey kid mentality of coming and going, and out riding our bikes all day long, like bicycles and skateboards, and setting up jumps and tumbling and falling and getting back up, and so like it kind of as I'm speaking like as we age, it kind of was like the natural progression. The excitement I felt on a skateboard going down a hill, not knowing if I was going to hit a little rock and eat shit, like I feel that on a chopper when you're on some shitty bias ply old Firestone tires with the grooves going the same way as the freeway, and it starts doing this, your butt clenches the same way on a skateboard, and you kind of, I guess, get to relive your youth a little bit.
So along those lines, it seems to me that a big part of this is some kind of like this, along with this sort of self-actualization and this do-it-yourself mentality, making your own unique thing. there's obviously a connection to some kind of freedom of expression here. You're saying something about yourself just by being out on this thing.
Yeah. I mean, I said it's definitely a hey, look at me vibe. But like I said, like going back again to like kind of the skateboard, it's something you do by yourself with your friends, if that makes any sense. The shop nights, the design meetings in the bars, all this talking about your dream bike, and then actually getting together with your buddies and staying up late and building it, and then going out and riding it with your friends. Like I said, it's a whole experience, and like I said, it's the best way I could. It's trying to, I guess, relive your youth a little bit, you know, of like riding bikes until the streetlights come on, until you had to go home for dinner. You're lucky enough to have dinner. Actually, we got little homie, the Nomi, over here. If you want to jump in on this, get in here, Nomi. He first came around when he was 19 years old and just sat in the corner of my shop.
21.
Jason, I understand you have a motorcycle club. It's not a gang, but it is a club, and when you get together, you talk more shop about the bikes maybe than whether or not you've pillaged a village.
I mean, we do some pillaging, but in a lighthearted way. I guess in the modern society, I guess kind of men's groups and support groups are pretty rare. We enjoy our times we spend with each other and building stuff and riding bikes around and going out and acting like idiots. Yeah. We talk shop. We talk therapy. Like I said, we call it the douche LaRouche, just so that it's like a lighthearted thing, and no one could threaten that and be like, fuck you, douche LaRouche is going to get you. No one's going to believe that. Like I said, it's more of a riding group, and it's been about 20 years now, and we're all over the place in every country, and like it's cool. We always got a place to crash and someone to show us the local bars and restaurants, and like I said, this is Nomi. He's in charge now. But yeah. It's not like your bike club in the traditional 1% sense. Like I said, we created these bikes to what we needed to feel in life. So that didn't exist in other groups, so we kind of built our own group.
Douche LaRouche, where did that come from?
Well, I mean, just saying it doesn't it feel good coming out of your mouth? That is one reason, but I guess when we were first getting started, our buddy Dean, he picked up this, it was like a 70s biker cut, but it was all from like gay gangs. So it had like big dicks on it and all kinds of shit. And it had a little patch on it. And, well, anyways, there was a Dick Tracy old motorcycle vest of like gay gangs, and he picked it up, and there was a button on it, and it said douche LaRouche. And none of us knew what it meant, but it was fun to say. And then later I figured it out. There was this dude, Lyndon LaRouche, and I guess he's ran for president every year.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and I guess like college kids hate him, and they would have all kinds of protests, and we saw all kinds of, like, they would be, we had this other one that said Stone Zombies for LaRouche, and it was like the dude in the suit with a little swastika on his lapel eating a carrot. So we adopted the carrot as our sign. Not so much the swastika. But yeah, it's just it's all in bad humor. Like I said, most names are like tough guy names or something like that, but we wanted to make sure that was very non-threatening, and I guess we all are a little douchey and sometimes a little LaRouche, so I guess it serves us well. And like I said, it's so catchy. I think that's why it caught on.
It's that time again where we do that segment, a revolutionary old idea, where we've gone and we found something that's kind of an old idea becoming a new idea. Am I right, Mark?
Yeah, and so Jason, since you're the newcomer here, in every episode we typically find someone who's doing something that you might think is wildly out of date, but they have found a way to put a new spin on it. So who is it this time, Steve?
Well, it's not so. It is one person who's created a kind of a very interesting conceptual piece of clothing, but it's almost more the idea or the potential for this piece of clothing. It's a hand knitted sweater, which is an old school idea, but woven into these sweaters are an FM radio transmitter. And what this allows is for people, you remember how people were having flash groups a while back? They would all talk to each other on their cell phones, and then they would meet at one place, complete strangers, and they would do something like sing like birds for 10 seconds and then just go away and stuff like that. This is suggesting that people would have these sweaters, the radio transmitter is in there, and they might go to a common place and all sort of receive a message or hear something at the same time. And it's to some extent come out of a situation where in Takistan, am I got that right? Taksim Square in Istanbul, all forms of public demonstrations are banned. So what they want to do is have everybody show up in these sweaters and at the same time hear a message sent on an FM frequency that they would sort of be having a public rally or almost demonstration without necessarily making any sound or making any noise. So it's kind of cool.
Wow. And actually it's got a little bit of a, there's only a couple of degrees of separation from Jason's way of expressing himself with choppers, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's first of all, FM in our fast-paced world is kind of, we take it for granted now. Yeah. Wasn't that long ago. There was only our transistor radios and AM stations and bad DJs. And now FM is like, well, the texture of FM. So they're going to use FM and weave the hardware into these sweaters and have basically demonstrations or assemblies, I guess you would call it, of people who can all hear one message communicated at once. Never mind what the government's doing to the internet in wherever they are. In this case, Istanbul, and they will all get a common message.
Nice.
Now, are these sweaters like your grandmother used to knit? I mean, it's like hook.
Well, they're sort of crazy wild patterns, and as I understand it, the reason is not crazy wild. They're sort of symmetrical, but in bold ways, because they have to have X patterns and stuff so that they can conceal the hardware. And the hardware now is, I say hardware, but it's actually some very light wiring and so forth that causes them to be able to get the thing in there. But you're talking about people turning their bodies into radio receivers so that they can get a message that they otherwise are either not going to be allowed to get or are not able to get. And I think it's kind of interesting. We live in a time where we have assumed all of this communication ability, and yet in many places, people just can't go to the internet, or they can't go to the sites they want to go to, or they can't even maybe call their friend on the phone and say, hey, Saturday, we're going to get together. We're going to have some signs. We're going to make some noise. We're going to sing some songs of revolution. And so this is, I don't know. It's kind of a cool thing. It's grandma's sweater, with the revolutionary message woven into it.
Now that we all have an image in our head of a group of rebellious Turks in a square in Istanbul who are communicating by having knit their form of communication, having knit the antenna right into the sweater, and allowing them to communicate in a way that's rather actually quite subversive. And I don't doubt that this resonates with Jason, but let me ask Jason, even though you live in California, Do you have an ugly Christmas sweater?
I have plenty of ugly Hawaiian shirts. I got a grandpa sweater that I love wearing. I do love doing a cardigan. But I mean, the whole idea kind of it's got like a Joe Strummer vibe. He was always about the freedom of
nice
radio and like the idea. I mean, this is not direct, but like the idea of a campfire, like people at different campfires, just the ember, the spark, that everyone's connected, and like you can't silence like what's right, you know. So yeah, fuck the fascist. Get a good sweater.
All right. Now we're using the internet.
Well, if you want to destroy my sweater, pull a thread as I walk away.
Can I ask Jason just a kind of, I guess, a sort of a personal question? You seem to really enjoy the fabrication of the motorcycles. How much do you enjoy riding? I've been in a couple pretty gnarly accidents. I still go out riding. It's fun, but like I enjoy the shop time with the guys and the actual design and building more than the riding. But yeah, I mean, it's all fun. Like it's a fun hobby. I mean, it's more than a hobby. It's a lifestyle because it does take a lot of commitment, you know. And it's like I said, it's something you do alone, together with your friends, you know. And that's a very short list of activities, you know. And going back,
you know, I'm not going to accept your story, Jason, that you aren't, or at least may not be an artist, and I'm gonna operate on the assumption, having seen some of your bikes and spoken to you, that you are an artist. And my question is, most artists seem to famously have a muse. Is your muse the club? Is that where your inspiration comes from? Tell me where inspiration comes from.
Definitely, I don't know about muse, but inspiration. I mean, we definitely like to cock off with each other and show off. I mean, like I said, I think I do my best work when my friends are around. I mean, when they're not, it's hard to get out in the shop and just pick up a hammer and start hitting a piece of metal. Like I said, I guess I'm more of a performance artist. But here's the muse right here. Let's get this sweet baby in here. So this is my main. He's painted everything I've ever built. We've been together since day one. This is Sweet Baby James, the greatest painter on the planet.
Hey guys.
Woo. He's got the official T-shirt. It looks like.
Oh yeah, we make tons of our own shirts.
Yeah, this was made in Spain.
As you were saying, everything like my bikes are an older style. So me and Sweet Baby, I mean, besides him being 132 years old, he actually lived through there. But we do a lot of research on these older bikes and the older techniques and the scallops, flames, lace, fadeaways, all that fancy stuff, you know.
Yeah, and you asked Jason about like if he considers himself an artist or he doesn't or whatever, but he actually is. But I feel the same way. Myself, I'm just a painter. Me and Jason collaborate and we create art. You know, that's what's going on here, you know. Kind of a group effort. Brings out the best of all of us, you know.
All right, I'll accept that. And you know, I'm wondering, Jason, would it be fair to say that most of your build is that you're relying on tools and techniques that are actually very established? That you're relying on tools and techniques that go back to the hot rod era. Is that true?
Yeah, like a lot of obsolete tools and stuff. Like I was saying, through the popularity, they're becoming more and more available. But like a lot of this stuff is like a surplus World War II. Like they're like, when I first got into it, just to find an English wheel, it was very, very difficult. I mean, that's what they would use back to make put a little stretch and shape into the aluminum to do the airplane wings panels before they riveted them in. Like I said, most body shops don't have those. And like I said, going through even like the old books of the 50s and when they were doing the cars, they were more cutting things off other cars and grafting them on. There really wasn't the tools that could shape metal like we have today. Like we're at the high watermark right now where people are having power hammers and different tools and all kinds of CNC stuff.
I was at a General Motors design studio, and it was hard to get an English wheel in there. You know, I needed some stuff I wanted to, and they're the first ones to do the clay modeling. One of the last. They're still doing it.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, they were considered obsolete for 50 years, and now they're back.
Yeah.
Relevant as ever. Yeah, but like I said, it all goes back to like ancient blacksmith. Like we're just hitting metal with a hammer till it submits to what we want it to do. There's no fancy magic or anything like that in it. I mean, metal shaping is archaic as it gets. I mean, we're fucking like cavemen over here.
Well, can we talk for a moment about a possible convergence of what you're just saying about your craft with and ideas for the new? Would you, or have you tried building an electric chopper? And is that just not a chopper if it's got an electric?
There's Harley came out with an electric a version of a bike, the Livewire. I haven't had an opportunity to work on one yet. My buddy Yaniv at Power Plant, he used like an old wishbone frame and little peanut gas tank and a little Springer front end and put an electric motor in it and did kind of a fairing that kind of covers the motor, but it looks like an old 50s style bobber, and it looks awesome. I see. And it's electric, and it will stand up like that because it's so much instant horsepower.
Right, they accelerate so quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any desire to do that, but it's cool, and people are out there doing it, so props to them. If I get a chance, I'll mess with it. If you're listening, Harley Davidson. Actually, a friend of ours just got hired in the marketing department for that electric bike. So maybe in the future we may get one here.
Be forthcoming.
Version.
Now, talking about stuff in the future, Jason, do you already have ideas about what's next from you?
Right now, we did a documentary that we're wrapping up about the pink bike. It's the Road Agent. It's based on like the model kit. Remember I was telling you how the models kind of got me all started. So it kind of came full circle. We did that. And right now, actually tonight, after we finish this, we're going outside and we have that 49 Ford and we're going to start working on that. And we're filming that more, I guess, in a episode format. We'll probably have that on YouTube, and Tom's producing that. And like I said, if you were a fan of Sacred Steel Bikes, we got the original cast back, the original producer, just a different vibe. It's all chopper guys building the car, and then we have some fancy car guys coming in saying if we did it right or did it wrong. But we're definitely taking some big risks and making some big cuts. And I don't know if we can get it back together or not, but it's so far it's been a fun experience. And like I said, it kind of goes back to that first car I cut up when I was 15, and I didn't get it back together. So I hope this is a little bit of a redemption story, because I posted a picture of it today in the like a 49 Ford Facebook group, and they fucking tore me apart, man. The internet had so much hate. I don't understand. And it was a custom 49 Ford, and they were like, "Why would you cut that there?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm trying to make a custom that hasn't been done yet. Like, anyone cut anything, but can you put it back together? I'm like, well, it's just a picture I took right after I cut it. So yeah, don't be one of those guys. Don't go on the internet and talk shit when someone's just trying to do something or build something. Let's try to be supportive of each other, and that's how cool shit gets made. Not trying
that's great
that's
great
takeaway.
advice. That's good advice for life.
And like I said, especially another reason we're doing this is since I've started doing this, people keep saying hot rods and choppers are going to die because this next generation is not getting into it. But I mean, if they try to do something and post something on the internet and everyone fucking tears them apart, they're going to walk away from that. Because there is a huge learning curve. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's been 30 years before, you know, and I'm still, people are still talking shit and I still don't know it all. But imagine if you're a 16-year-old kid and you're trying to build your first car and you post a pic, and instead of these old guys that all have this car being supportive and kicking out some resources, all they do is start talking shit and be negative. So, yeah, if you want to save this hobby, like let's bring a youngster in, show them what you know, show them where the resources are. Let's not gatekeep hot rods, choppers, and lead sleds, you know?
So, Jason, we are very interested with this show in demonstrating how experience can come into the processes that people are pursuing. What experiences do you bring to what you do?
I mean, like I said, the thing about experience is you have to acquire it over a long period of time. And, you know, going back to the last question, you got to start somewhere. So when I first got in, there wasn't like a lot of dudes like, oh, let me help you out. We kind of had to figure it out. But like, as I told you, as an ex kind of punk rock do it yourself, we already had this mentality of we're going to do it our own anyway. The process of gaining the experience versus being the dude that has the experience is kind of, you have a responsibility to pass it on, to keep what you love going, to keep this craft, whatever you're doing, whatever it is. If you just have all the skill and knowledge yourself and you don't share any of it, it's going to die with you. And if that's the case, I guess you really didn't love it. So, yeah, don't be that.
Right.
So this has been a great conversation, Jason. But there's one thing I'm still curious about. You are a very serious, let's say, I think a 3rd degree Mason, a member of the Masonic Temple.
Yeah.
I'm
a master Mason and a past master, which means I was the master of the lodge. Where to start with that? It all kind of ties together of when I was saying like men today, we don't have these social groups of people that are trying to help each other and build you up, and you know, like, and that's kind of like, I guess Douche LaRouche was an experience on that, and a lot of that is based on some of the things in Freemasonry, but yeah, like I said, like it's a group that teaches men to be better. It's probably the best thing I've ever done. And, like I said, with all the other kind of stuff in my life, it's like the opposite. So like I guess it's juxtaposition. It's like the juxtaposition.
So is Freemasonry a very is Freemasonry a very serious and regimented kind of activity compared to the chopper world, or
it is very, very serious. I mean, there's fun parts, but there's old traditions and like things that you don't want to change, you know. And I mean, that's why you go through it, to do these initiations and rituals, and you know, it's fun, you know. And like I said, I think it is a very. I mean, it's not like invented in America, but like I said, I think of it as like a very American ideal, you know.
And you give back.
You know, giving back to the community and like through the charity and different things. And we were able to like update that a lot. Like at our lodge is very like progressive and modern thinking, and
Good. Well, Jason, we thank you for spending so much time with us this evening. And we wish you well in everything that you're attempting to do. And as far as that project you're about to go to, I guess, outdoors there, I would just say, if all of the negativity in this country was only focused on people because they cut the roof off of an old car, things would be much better right now.
I agree with that.
Okay. So we thank you for helping us with this episode.
And that,
Mark?
I agree. That's all very true. And I think that I will say that Jason really, as far as I can tell, you really embody the underlying ideas about revolutionary old idea. I think you really, you're really living the continued value placed on traditional skills and experience and just quality.
Well, AI ain't going to replace that. So,
Touché.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. It's been a great little chat. And
Thank you for being with us.
we're going to go busy, cut something up right now.
All right. And for Steve and I, we'll say goodbye until next time. You've been listening to Revolutionary Old Idea. I'm Mark Gardner.
I'm Steve Steich.
And I'm the guest, Jason Wilson.
Perfect. Thank you.